All right. So with this, I can just scroll up and down. So all the notes will be here if you ever need it while you're working, if you need your memory jogged. But today we're talking about chapter 1-1, hourly pay. Make sure you have your red pen because that's what we'll use for equations. If you don't have it today, it's not too big of a deal. All right, so chapter 1 is pretty much all about getting paid and different ways that you can get paid. It's pretty easy math, but why do you think it's important that you understand how it's calculated, how you're paid? Say it?
So you don't get messed up by your boss.
So you don't get screwed, is that what you're going to say?
No.
Yes. So you don't get screwed over by your boss. Really, if your boss miscalculates your amount of pay and you don't understand how it's calculated in the first place, you can't speak up for yourself. So it's all about self-advocacy, okay? You don't want to seem dumb if you go to your employer and say, hey, you underpaid me. And your employer says, prove it. And you say, well, I don't know how to prove it. I just know that you underpaid me. So you want to know how it's calculated so that you can advocate for yourself, okay? We start with the easiest method, which is hourly rate pay. Something really important to understand in this chapter and all of the chapters going forth is the difference between gross and net. Okay, so the word gross and the word net is used over and over again in this book. What's the difference? Anyone know?
Is it net like overall pay and gross is like the non-made?
Nope, it's even simpler than that. So even if we weren't talking about pay, what would the word gross mean and the word net mean? Anyone know? Bailey, you remember from accounting? Anissa from accounting? No? So the word gross means before. And the word net means after. So the word gross means to start with, any number to start with. The word net means anything after. So when we're talking about pay, gross pay is before anything is taken out. Net pay is after everything is taken out. What kind of things are taken out of pay?
Taxes.
Taxes. What else?
Paychecks.
Insurance, yes. Any benefit, right? So different types of insurance, different types of taxes. If you've ever had a job, the first paycheck you get is like a gut punch because you see everything that was taken out of it. And you see what it would have been if you didn't have to pay taxes. But the only thing for certain in life is death and taxes, if you've ever heard that saying. It's true. All right, so to calculate gross pay, here's our equation. Okay, so gross pay equals, in the book, I'm going to break it down a little bit more than the book does. So it equals days times hours times pay rate. Again, very, very, very easy to calculate as long as you know what numbers to plug in where. So for example, in the book, example 1, Mark works a customer service and is paid $9.10 per hour. What is minimum wage right now? Do you know? I actually don't.
Like 10, 20.
$10.20? It's going up.
No, it's 11.
It's like 11.
It's like 11.
I thought it was like 12 something.
Not yet. So anytime that minimum wage passes to increase, they have to gradually increase to that number. So I'm not sure what their end number is right now, but I know that it's gradually going up. Okay, so $9.10 is not even minimum wage anymore. He worked 38 hours last week, find his gross pay. So all you have to do is, there are no days in this one, so we just take 38 hours times 9.10, 345.80. Let's go ahead and do A. Okay. So A says Kenny works at a shopping mall as a security guard and is paid $7.50 an hour. Find his gross pay when he works 46 hours a week. This is not considering overtime yet. That's the next thing we're doing. So this is just straight across pay. So we're going to take the hours first. So 46 hours times pay of $7.50. What do we get from that? $3.45? Okay. Go ahead and do B on your own. And then we'll compare. $406.25. Is that what y'all got? Cool. All right. Let's do C. This is when they're considering the days of the week as well. Rosa worked 8 hours Monday through Friday as a legal assistant. How many days is that? Monday through Friday. 5 days. Okay. So she worked 5 days, 8 hours per day. That's a 40-hour work week. That is full time. And her hourly wage is $18.75. She made $750. Okay, go ahead and do D on your own real quick. So you'll have to add up all of those hours. How many hours did you get? 32 hours times $9 an hour, $288. All right. Okay, so this next one doesn't have any math to it. They're just pointing out that some employers will make you clock in and clock out, and then they will round it to the nearest 15 minutes. Have any of you had jobs where you clock in and out? So what kind of clock in and out system did they have? You wrote it down. What did you say? It was a computer and you logged into it? Okay. Same over here. Oh, thumbprint. Okay.
I use a card.
You swipe a card that you have to carry with you?
Yeah.
Okay. When I worked hourly, I had one where we logged in at the register. That was at the hardware store. And then the bank, you logged in with a password and it recorded it. And at the bank, they didn't want us to work any more than 40 hours a week. And so we would have to go in on Fridays and calculate our time and then leave early or leave late to get us to exactly 40 hours. It was odd. They just refused to pay us overtime. So if we came to work early, then we had to leave early on Fridays so that they didn't pay us anymore. All right? Okay, so let's talk about overtime and overtime pay rates. So what is a regular work week? How many hours? 40 hours. And how do they calculate that? How many hours a day? 8 hours a day. How many days a week? 5 days a week. This is becoming less and less common in the workplace. Now people are working 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. People are working more than 40 hours. People will just work 3 days a week. They'll work 6 days a week. People spread it out, shrink it up. The whole regular work week that people used to work is not as normal as it used to be. Just because times are changing, especially right now, people are working from home. So that's changing everything as well. But when they talk about a regular work week and how the law calculates overtime, it's based on a 40-hour work week. Okay, so anything above 40 hours, unless stated otherwise, is considered overtime hours, okay? So anything over 40, you move to overtime pay. For the sake of this book. Every company can be a little bit different, but I think by law, if you're not salary, if you're hourly, if you work over 40 hours, then they have to pay you overtime. So companies will get around this by just making people salary. At the wedding that I went to, one of my friends is a manager at Cargill in Fort Morgan, and that's like a meat packing facility. And she works 6 days a week, usually 9 or 10 hours a day, but she's on salary, so she doesn't get any overtime. But it's just expected of them that they work 6 days a week, like 10 hours a day.
I mean, that money.
I mean, she makes very good money, so I don't feel too bad for her, but she works a lot. Okay? All right, so there are 2 types of overtime pay. There is time and a half. And to calculate that, it's exactly how it sounds. So, time and a half. All you have to do is take 1.5 times the regular pay rate. Okay? And then there is double time. And that is 2 times the regular rate. Some jobs will pay more than 2 times or more than double time. Particularly in the medical field, they will pay triple time if you work on a holiday or if you work multiple shifts in a row. They'll end up paying you triple time to get people at the hospital. All right, so let's look at E. It says, find the time and a half and double time rates for these regular time pay rates. So, 751 time and a half would be what? Yep, so we're going to round up. Or actually, you don't round. Let me double check on that. No, you don't round. You just leave it in your calculator and then multiply it by the number of hours. So it's going to be 11,265. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Okay. What would double time be on 751? Okay. All right, I'm going to keep calculating. You can calculate it on your own or just watch up here. 876 would be 1314. And 1752. $1367. Be 20,505. And 2734. And again, if you are salary, you don't get overtime. So teachers, we don't get overtime. We can come and work as much as we want, but we don't get paid for it. We just get paid a flat amount for salary. Okay? It's a good thing they don't pay us overtime because we make a lot more. That's for sure. All right, if we look at F, let's calculate that as well because that takes into account the number of hours. So Emilio's regular time pay rate, oh no, let's skip that, not F. That's just more of the rate. So now if we pull in the hours, then we're going to take our regular pay plus our overtime pay equals our total gross pay. So total gross pay equals regular pay plus overtime pay. So you calculate them separately. We already know the equations for the separate ones. So regular pay, you don't have to write this down, but I'm just going to reiterate. Regular pay would be regular hours, so that would be 40 or below, times regular rate. Okay, and overtime pay would be overtime hours times the overtime rate. Add them together and you get the total gross pay. All right, so let's look at G. Xavier works an 8-hour day. He is paid $13.69 an hour for regular time and time and a half for any hours above 8 hours. Xavier worked these hours last week. Monday he worked 9 3/4, Tuesday 8, Wednesday 6, Thursday 8.5, and Friday 8. Let's figure out his gross pay. Okay, so what are his total hours? Let's add those up. So his total hours would be the 9.75 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8.5 plus 8. How many hours total?
40 or 40.
40.25.
Yeah.
Okay. So how much of that is regular?
40.
Okay, so let's do regular hours. 40 hours times 13.69. $547.60. Okay. How many hours were overtime? 0.25 times the rate times time and a half or double time?
Time and a half.
Time and a half. $5.13. We can round the final answer.
Yeah, that's
$5.13. So not very much overtime, but it adds up. Okay. So now we're going to add those two together. $552.73. Make sure that your final answer has a dollar sign. The rest doesn't have to, but the final answer does. So I know that you know it's money that we're dealing with. Okay? Go ahead and solve H on your own. And we'll all double check our answers. And then you'll get going on your work.